Today, one day after Democrats lost a major vote to codify Roe versus Wade at the national level, with a majority on the Supreme Court apparently poised to overturn that landmark ruling, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi is once again reiterating her support for the lone member of the House Democratic Caucus who opposes abortion rights. Congressman Henry Cuellar, representing the Rio Grande Valley of Texas, has a Democratic primary challenger named Jessica Cisneros. And Pelosi is on Team Cuellar.
I'm supporting Henry Cuellar. He's a valued member of our caucus. He is not pro-choice, but we didn't need him. We passed the bill with what we had. And by the way, this is one of the first Congresses that we have had with a Democratic president with a pro-choice Congress.
Now, I have to say, there's a little bit of tension between the message, elect more pro-choice Democrats to prevent overturning Roe v. Wade, and also, don't worry about this anti-choice Democrat. We have enough votes in the House. And yet, the entirety of House leadership is giving money to or actively campaigning for this longtime incumbent Democrat to fend off a progressive challenger, who I should add, is pro-choice. Abby Livingston is the D.C. bureau chief of the Texas Tribune, and she joins me now. Abby, this was sort of a little under the radar, I think, in national politics. I'd been paying attention to it, but now the Roe v. Wade leak of the Dobbs decision really puts a spotlight on this, and Cuellar is the lone remaining member, and he's bringing out the big guns of all of leadership is down there helping him out.
Absolutely. This could not have happened at a worse time for Congressman Cuellar. That said, I'm not surprised Pelosi's standing by him. She stands behind her members for a very long time. It usually has to become like a criminal situation, which this is involved in. The FBI has become involved in the context of this race, but his attorney has told me and other reporters that he's been informed by the FBI he's not a target. Pelosi cares about one thing, power. That's the name of her memoir, Know Your Power. She wants that gavel. And in the past, she and other Democratic leaders have recruited pro-life candidates, and they have and he was one of the few incumbents left who is pro-life.
Right, but I mean, let's talk about the power questions. The FBI raided Cuellar's apartment or his house, right? Now, again, this seems like a not great thing to have hanging over a candidate. So even if you take away abortion, you're just thinking like, well, who do we want to come out of this primary? Cuellar's representatives have said like he's not a target, but that seems like not the thickest assurance. Do we know anything about what the deal was with the FBI raid of the incumbent congressman's house?
I have never worked the phones harder on a story, and I have nothing on this. This is the strangest race I've ever covered, and I've covered hundreds of congressional races. And that happened in January. And that, again, was at a really bad time. And there are serious questions in the legal community over the propriety of the Justice Department doing it at that time. The name James Comey has come up in this context. And so it is strange, but it had kind of died down. And then the Roe v. Wade thing blew up. And so this is an incredibly hard race for Henry Cuellar to win. I wouldn't count him out. He's a very good politician, but he's had the kitchen sink thrown at him by the gods.
Yeah, and Jessica Cisneros, his challenger, this is the second time I think she's challenging him. She's a young, progressive lawyer. She was on the Meet the Press, and she was describing the fact that it's not just on abortion, right? I mean, he is a sort of Manchin-esque figure in the House caucus, I think it's fair to say, to the right, the furthest right of the caucus on everything. Take a listen.
The last thing we want is to hold on to a slim Democratic majority and then have someone like Henry Cuellar who's going to keep signing with Republicans, not just on this issue, but he's done it on things like the PRO Act. He's voted to, fund the border wall. I mean, has an A rating from the NRA. There's so many key issues where he's always signing with Republicans, and he could become the Joe Manchin of the House. We don't want Henry Cuellar to be the deciding vote.
Now, the question, right, of course, is it's hard to imagine a Democrat other than Joe Manchin winning West Virginia. What does the district, the new lines of the district in the Rio Grande Valley look like in terms of how swingy it is?
It's pretty swingy. I was around some Democratic operatives last night, and that's the first question they asked me is what I thought. Could be a tough race no matter who wins it. David Wasserman of the Cook Political Report has pointed to Cuellar as the more electable one in the fall. That's an open discussion. I've talked to Jessica Cisneros, and she's back. So I think it's very much up in the air and very unsteady going forward in South Texas.
Yeah, I would say, like, the lack of clarity of why the guy's house was raided by the FBI does really cast a pall over the whole thing. That, like, if I were just backing a horse, would want to hedge a little bit. But hey, that's just me. Abby Livingston, thank you so much for your time.